Hi, everyone. Welcome to SecondFirst Conversations, a presentation of Second Congregational First Presbyterian Church in downtown Rockford, Illinois, where we serve downtown Rockford and beyond with God's grace. I'm your host, Phil Davidson, along with Greg McCulloch. SecondFirst Christian education programs are fantastic. So what's involved? What are we doing? What's in the plans? Well, why don't we find out? Our guests today are Aubrey Barnett, SecondFirst Children and Family Coordinator, and Sarah Hallberg, a fantastic Sunday school teacher.
And Peanut Ringer Director.
And Peanut Bell Ringer Director. That's right.
We can't forget that.
So welcome to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Sarah, how many kids and youth are in our children's program?
We range approximately 15 to 20 kids.
And are they divided up into groups based on ages then?
Yes, and depending on the number of kids that Sunday. If we have a smaller group, then we keep them all together. If the group is larger, the high schoolers meet with Madeline. Aubrey takes the middle school kids, and then I take the littles.
Okay. Now, I know that every program we'd like to see growth, obviously. So if there's an age group you can pick out, Aubrey, that needs the growth, what is it?
So we have been really lucky to see the numbers stay stable and grow in our third, fourth, and fifth grade. We have had a really small number of high school students and older than that even who have not had a space and a commitment kind of post-COVID in the way that rocked and changed our world. And it really changed it most for our children who are really reliant upon the kind of daily routines of school. And 6 years out, it's kind of easy to forget how much things changed for those middle school children that are now kind of finishing high school. So we're so lucky to have Madeline, who is so committed to our church. She's part of that legacy of intergenerational work that we're trying to do. So she has really techified the high schoolers groups, and they have a computer set up, and they're doing digital virtual meetings, which means even when students aren't there, they can still join from their phone, which is kind of cool, just like, online service, but their own version. So that is still our group that we're working with, though. We really want to put the time and effort into the fourth and fifth graders to have them feel this ownership over the program so that as they transition to high school and there are events every day after school for them, that church doesn't fall off the radar and they feel like it's a place that continues to nurture their spirit.
And it seems like fourth and fifth grade is an area where we really have a lot of kids focused in that age group. Is that right?
We do. We have at least maybe 7, 8, 9 kids in that age group when they're all there.
Yeah, so that's a percentage, really.
It is, and that would be the same size as my first confirmation group when I came, 2018, and that's with Sarah's youngest, Connor, I had. So it's been since then that we've really had a sizable confirmation group, so that'll be kind of the next step. We don't want to rush it. We don't want to do confirmation before students are really ready to commit. UCC and Presbyterian have an interesting flexibility when it comes to that. And so that process, even today I was talking to my daughter about what it means to choose to be a Christian, and that's really important. Sarah and I are bringing that to this work. So what we want is to capture that group of students and children and bring them into a confirmation class that makes them excited, and then find the routine for high school where they have a space. We've now secured it in that fourth floor. Yay! We have our fourth floor space back. They love it. And really make something important to them that they'll stick with so that it's a church family.
Well, on Sunday mornings, after the early word or the children's message, the kids usually leave the sanctuary and they go upstairs. So could you give us an idea of some of the programs and the activities that go on after they have gone up to their own inner sanctum?
So we head upstairs, and usually we all meet in one room, and we start off with the Lord's Prayer. Our kids know it. Very proud of when we are in service and we are doing the Lord's Prayer. I see congregation people looking over, and it's like, wow, they know it. So that's kind of cool. And then we split up into our groups. Right now, during the Lent season, we are talking about Jesus' miracles and where he traveled and the miracles that he performed. And we actually painted a map on the wall And we have pictures, and then we do a lesson. We've been watching some of those chosen videos that pertain to that particular miracle. And then there's a coloring activity, and we sit around the table and we talk. We do our How Powwow, which is, and Aubrey explained that better.
Well, I learned How Powwow from SecondFirst, so it is really a legacy that's been left. So how is how you've seen God at work this week. Pow is maybe something you need support or prayers for, and wow is something you're really excited to share. So it's a ritualized invitation into community and reflection about life. It sounds really simple, and kids can do it, but it's practicing something of deep faith.
That's so cool.
I think our coolest wow recently was one of our kids said she was having a bad day, and she prayed to God, and her day got better. And could just cry, but it's just like those youth that are our future. These kids are our future.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you need a lot of collaboration between you two and perhaps and Madeline and so forth. So how does that work?
Yeah, it's not been for a long time. When I first got hired, it was Diane, and she was fabulous, and I loved getting to work with her a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily collaborative at that point. It was still kind of like two separate lanes running the programming. And then there have been some kind of transitions and hiring, and when FCE was trying to find a solution to provide meaningful curriculum that differentiated for age groups so that the older kids really had a sense of their own space and they weren't showing up and just being forced to nurture. And that middle group didn't always feel like they had to adjust for the ones who are still learning to read, right? We needed someone who was going to be consistent and who knew the kids. And Sarah took a risk. She said in an FCE meeting, I'll try it out. I haven't done it before, but I'm willing to go out on faith and give it a try. And that was just over a year ago. And in that time, the organic relationship that's built where we're calling each other and texting and planning and saying, hey, what about this idea? And Sarah's artistic ability and will to create and her just vibrancy for the church has flourished this relationship and really created, a bond and a unity where our kids are getting a consistent message through two people who are on a weekly basis planning for who they are. We're not running a canned curriculum that we purchased that somebody else said was good. We're actively, every single season, changing to match the season and match the children and match our world and bring what we can offer to them so that they can grow in their Christian faith.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Last year when I came, I had this idea of weaving our way through Lent. And so that was our project that we did during Lent season last year. And that was another reason why Aubrey and I kind of collaborated. What are we going to do this year for Lent? And we kind of talked a little bit, and we both came up with the miracle idea. And just being able to know that Aubrey's going to be there every Sunday at 9. We're getting the rooms ready. We're getting the lesson plans ready. We're getting ready for the kids. And just being able to have that consistency between her and I and the trust, I think, that we have, and just our friendship. I think our friendship has grown, and I think that she's my yin to my yang, and we get along really well.
That's wonderful, wonderful. And then you have Madeline Archer, who, of course, has always been an active participant in our youth groups in the church, and now she's a student at the Illinois Wesleyan University. I think she's a junior, I believe.
Sophomore. I know.
Hard to believe. And now she's working with you guys. So how is she working with you guys? I think you alluded to this earlier.
Yeah. Well, so when she is away at Wesleyan on Sundays, she runs the kind of virtual group. When she's back, she physically is there. This past week was lovely. We're going to plan a children's choir for Mother's Day. It was Sebastian who first suggested that youth worship be on Mother's Day. He was last year at FCE. We thought that was so sweet. We're kind of now going to make it a tradition. So we've got these wonderful little choir robes that we purchased a few years ago that we're so excited to bring back out. And Madeline was there, and she said, hey, I actually just took a class on how to have small children do harmony, right? And so it was very exciting to put that music education to use right there. And we pulled a small little group, and she taught them and said, we're all going to learn this together, and then I'm going to sing the harmony with you to make sure that you actually know your part. It was very exciting. So what's cool is she's bringing her enthusiasm and her youth and offering and being present and, reliable in that way that you want to help young people learn responsibility. And we are getting to grow her as an educator in the field that she's choosing by providing those opportunities because, again, this is an intergenerational community. That was the goal of FCE, and you can see the fruits of that spirit blossoming in so many places. And it's easy to get discouraged with children and feel like they're not going to stay engaged or we don't have enough. It's hard. It's a hard place to be, but there are so many flowers in our garden that are worth celebrating. So Madeline is one of those flowers. To have known her as a youth and been here when she was 13, obviously for some of you it's longer, but for me to have had that role and see her metamorphosize into this confident young person is such a gift.
Well, I was going to ask you how things have changed over the past year, and you're already answering that, which is great. But I think the intergenerational aspect is certainly a huge part of it. Do you want to talk about that anymore?
I'm going to chime in. One of the things that our youth is doing is they are actually doing an interview with congregational members. They're walking up to the members and, what do you want? What was the question this week?
I think it's if you could change one thing for Lent, wasn't it something?
Yeah, something like that. And what would it be? And so our youth are interviewing our congregation. And then we, post that online. And I think that that's kind of cool with the intergenerational thing, having them speak to the older members of the church. And our program has changed only in the fact that, like Aubrey said, is we aren't going with a textbook program. We are coming up with those ideas on our own.
We talked about that earlier when we were chatting before the recording session, and I actually didn't know that for sure because, we've had years in the past where we've bought one of the standard curriculums, and to find out that we're creating our own and we're customizing it for our kids, that's super impressive, I think.
It's an interesting challenge. There's safety when you purchase something like that because Jesus is a dangerous idea. Jesus took a lot of risks. We really like to forget that. And we forget what it would have been like for him to be a teacher of children in today's day and age. And most curriculum, no matter who's producing it, has to stay in some space of safety that they're going to market to, right? It's a marketing piece. And so it takes a church willing to take a risk on a youth director and say, we're going to trust you to develop this. That's a huge risk that I don't take for granted in any time or space. And having Sarah, on board and being so close to Jess and Jennifer, who are the presidents and co-chairs of FCE, having those pathways of communication continually open and reflective has allowed to do the kind of teaching that I deeply believe Jesus would have called us to do, right? To tell the story. So I'm honored that you noticed that, and I think it does matter. And I would say to people looking for a church that sets things apart, if they had children, it matters that you have educators as leaders in this church. It's not just someone on a Sunday willing to give their time because they love it. It's people with educational expertise who really are developing it.
I think that's why I rely on her a lot, because she is a teacher. She is a paid professional teacher, whereas I am not, far from it in my industry. But I love the kids, and being the Peanut Ringer director for 24 years, maybe. I remember when little Miss Madeline was a peanut ringer in her little pink cowboy boots that she used to wear.
I think we're all teachers.
I remember when Nicholas had to jump every time he rang his bell.
The bell, yes.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing for my family. We would be waiting for the notes that Nicholas played because the jump was just so awesome.
Well,
that's so
let's talk about the events that you do during the year, maybe a little more specifically. And, of course, they're getting more intergenerational all the time, and I think that's just terrific.
So we can collaborate a little bit here. We do an annual fishing trip at Rock Cut. We have done bowling. We usually do Alpine Hills, and we do a sledding day. We always plant flowers in the spring, which then go over to the parking lot, not the parking lot, but the space across the street where our big sign goes, and we plant there. Aubrey, what else do we do?
Well, Pastor Martha has been encouraging us to plan next year's Advent. It's never too soon. We're not quite to Lent 2027, but we are at Advent 26. And I think we're going to go with a Bible bingo verse and hot cocoa night. So that's going to be like an effort to get people to come in. I thought that would be kind of fun. Shout out to Tinsley, who came up with the Bible verse bingo idea. She likes
awesome.
Bingo. So we're not only kind of holding to the ones we've already had, but we're looking to add more and to keep that building.
Sounds terrific. Well, so you've kind of answered this next question, but let's look at the future. What are your plans? Okay, you already mentioned something, but are there other things rolling around that you're thinking about doing?
Sarah wants a fresh coat of paint on the 4th floor. Any volunteers? We need a tribute. No. Some spatial pieces of completion in that 4th floor. I know that Madeline has had a wish list. I believe we put it out in the tower of some items. So now it's kind of like furnishing the space and living into it now that it's finally been cleared out so that we can dream about what that's going to feel like, I think.
That 4th floor space is was called the radar room back in my day. And I have fond memories of spending Sunday afternoons doing our youth services or our youth group meetings there, sitting up in the balcony on the couch, and I want our kids to be able to experience that. So
terrific.
I just look forward to working with Aubrey every Sunday.
Me too. Meet with Sarah. It's a nice it's a gift from God.
Well, you're a gift, Aubrey, and we all look forward to hearing your children's message because sometimes it's the one that really sticks with the adults. And that is nothing against Martha because she does a great sermon.
Yes.
But I appreciate
but you do such a good message.
Your kind words. Several people have come up to tell me that it means something, and there could be no truer moment of my soul shining through than those moments on Sunday morning. I get to say all the things that I can't really say in a classroom because God isn't called to that space. And so those moments are, as often as I can, just being a conduit for what I believe is love and truth and peace that I want to pass on to every single person in our community.
Well, and you do a good job doing that.
And I just need to chime in real quick, too, that she needs to usually forewarn me about what she's going to be speaking about, because a lot of times it brings me to tears.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten a little moist in the eye area myself.
A couple times, yeah.
I should bring up a little emoji card just as a warning.
Look out, here it comes.
That's what's coming, right?
Well, thank you
guys.
both. This has been fantastic, and if people aren't excited about our youth program, our kids programs after this, there's something wrong because
that's right.
It is tremendous.
You're missing some emotions.
The SecondFirst family Christian education is a vital part of our church's life. And thank you both for your dedication and time and for being our guests today on SecondFirst Conversations, which is a podcast series from Second Congregational First Presbyterian Church in downtown Rockford, Illinois. Our podcasts seek to educate, inform, and show God's grace. Colossians 4:6 says, "Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned by salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone." This is Phil Davidson along with Greg McCulloch. So long, and thank you for listening.
SecondFirst Conversations is produced and hosted by Phil Davidson, edited by Greg McCulloch. We'd like to thank the Rockford Public Library for use of their excellent recording studio. Our theme music is Vineyard by the Asian Jazz Cafe, and it's courtesy of Universal Studios. To listen to more podcasts or view Sunday services live, visit our YouTube channel, SecondFirst Rockford, or visit us at our website, www.secondfirst.org.